I'm Dr. Tanu Singhal. I'm a consultant in pediatric infectious disease at Kokilaben Dhirubhai Ambani Hospital in Mumbai, and I have been involved in the care of COVID patients for the past 6 months. I'm going to be talking to you about the post discharge care of children with COVID 19. COVID is a stressful experience for the child and the family. Hence, an important aspect of post discharge care is to reassure and allay the anxiety of parents. They need to be counseled about the possible post discharge complications and what they need to monitor clinically. If any laboratory or radiologic investigation are needed, they need to be told about that and how to get them done. Questions related to medications and nutrition have to be addressed. In the Indian setting, food concerns are common. The parents have to be guided about this. They also have to be told about vaccinations which may need to be taken or those that are contraindicated in view of treatment with steroids and IVIG. Issues related to isolation of the child have also to be dealt with. This opportunity should be taken to explain briefly about COVID 19 disease and how it affects children. They should also be told that both short term and long term outcomes of COVID 19 in children are better than in adults. They should be given clear directions about when to seek emergency care and the routine follow ups. In children with mild illness, no regular monitoring is needed. They should be asked to do a teleconsultation or a physical consultation 2 weeks after the onset of the illness. Since the pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome is a problem in children with mild COVID illness, parents have to be counseled about this. But they should also be told that this is a rare possibility. And the symptoms of PIMS include fever, abdominal pain, vomiting, diarrhea, rash, red eyes, red lips, etc. Since some children with mild COVID can progress to respiratory complications such as pneumonia, parents should be asked to watch for respiratory difficulty in the case and seek medical help. Regular monitoring of oxygen saturation with pulse oximeter is not needed in children with mild disease. Children who have had moderate or severe COVID disease need better monitoring at home after discharge. These children are at risk for cardiorespiratory deterioration due to secondary bacterial infection, new viral infections, evolving fibrosis, and sometimes even pulmonary thromboembolism. The child's respiratory rate needs to be monitored, and parents have to be told about the age related cutoffs of the respiratory rate. The saturation should be checked with the pulse oximeter twice a day, both at rest and after a 5-minute walk, for 1 to 2 weeks or even longer as the need may be. The lowest acceptable saturation for the child should be told to the parents because many children are going home with saturations of less than 95%. Parents and caregivers should be asked to check their own saturation to make sure that any low saturation is not an erroneous because of the faulty instrument. Since it is known that COVID can cause lung fibrosis, those children who had evidence of pulmonary involvement like tachypnea, hypoxia, significant involvement on CT should have their lung function monitored on follow up. This is generally possible only for children who are aged 7 years or older who can do spirometry. Spirometry should be done 2 weeks and 6 months after discharge. In children who have residual abnormalities even after 6 months, further follow up may be needed. In children with pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome, intensive monitoring is needed. They should be monitored clinically for return of fever, breathlessness, cold extremities. Some of them may need laboratory evaluation in the form of a complete blood count, C reactive protein, or erythrocyte sedimentation rate before the next follow up. Echo may be needed at periodic intervals, especially in those children who have had reduced ejection fraction or coronary artery abnormalities. Here, the advice of the treating team should be followed about the frequency of the echo. As far as post discharge medications are concerned, most of the children do not need any medications after discharge. Advice about nutrition should be given, and some multivitamins or mineral supplements may be prescribed. These include zinc, iron, vitamin D. If antibiotics were administered, the course should be completed. Other discharge drugs should be continued. These may include corticosteroids in children with severe COVID and in children with PIMS. Anticoagulation may be given in those children who have had documented thromboembolism in their hospital course or those who had the pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome. Aspirin may be needed in children with PIMS and those who have had coronary artery abnormalities. Some children may also need antiemetics, antacids, and proton pump inhibitors. Children getting admitted to hospital wards or intensive care units are often isolated from their family members and may experience considerable stress in COVID vis-a-vis other respiratory illnesses and other severe illnesses. Some of them may also have parents, grandparents, siblings similarly sick. There may be people who have died within the family. Hence, all children should be screened for psychological problems during follow up and a consultation with a child psychologist organized if necessary. Vaccination should be continued as per schedule. However, if the child received intravenous immunoglobulin for the pediatric multisystem inflammatory syndrome, then live vaccines, including MMR and chickenpox, should not be given for 9 months. If corticosteroids have been used for more than 2 weeks, then live vaccines should not be given for 1 month after stopping the corticosteroids. If the child has had severe lung involvement, then flu and pneumococcal vaccination should be offered. Prior receipt of IVIG or steroids does not interfere with the administration of the killed and inactivated vaccines. Now, as far as isolation of the child is concerned, new data indicates that viable virus is not found in patients with mild to moderate disease after 10 days of onset of symptoms or 3 days after recovery from fever, whichever is longer. Hence, these patients can be de isolated after this time. A repeat swab to document negativity is not required for de isolation. In fact, some people infected with COVID can have positive swabs for 3 months after infection, and these are just RNA sequences of the non viable virus. In children with severe disease, as per the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare guidelines, a negative swab is recommended before de isolation. However, as per recent guidelines from the Centers of Disease Control USA, even in severe disease, 85% clear the virus by day 10, 95% by 15 days, and almost all by 20 days. So, this time based strategy can be used to de isolate children, especially if logistic issues relating to repeating the swab are present. However, children who are immunocompromised should ideally have a negative swab demonstrated before de isolating them. Children with PIMS normally do not need isolation as PIMS is a post infectious syndrome and many children with PIMS are actually nasopharyngeal swab negative at the time of presentation. So, finally, in a summary, the most important and good thing is that most children with COVID have mild disease, recover quickly without sequelae, and need no specific post discharge medications or monitoring. However, children with severe lung illness will need clinical monitoring, pulse oximetry, and lung function monitoring after discharge. Children with PIMS will need medications, lab monitoring, and echo as per protocol. Vaccination should be continued as per schedule with stress on flu and pneumococcal vaccination in those who had COVID lung disease and taking into account IVIG and corticosteroid administration prior to giving live vaccines like MMR and chickenpox. Psychological support to child and parents is paramount. Thank you.